Well, good evening. I'm happy to be with you. And I know I have only a few minutes to talk, so I will just speak about the last minutes of the life of the Jewish people in Ghetto Kovno concentration camp. In July 1944, after 3 years of living in ghetto concentration camp, after a lot of horror, destruction, murder, the liquidation of the ghetto started. In the ghetto came in about 30,000 Jews, and after 3 years, only about 5,000 remained. A lot of actions, a very nice word, actions, was murder, went through the 3 years, hard work, but I don't know, I'm not an historian, as I was said, I'm doing research, viruses and cancer, but the people in ghetto and in concentration camp were always optimistic. Optimistic with the whole trouble, with the whole killing, almost every day, but still we hoped that the Germans will lose the war, and this hope that those bad people, bad is a very light word for it, will disappear and the Jewish people will survive. And this was a motto through all the ghetto, especially to the young, and I was started 11 years or so, and by July 1944 I was 14 years. When they decided to eliminate the ghetto, they announced that after the 6th of July, I believe, that after 2-3 days, all people of the ghetto will have to meet in a certain field, and from there they will be transported to work in Germany. This was about 100 kilometers that the Russians are already coming and in the front. So close to the freedom by the Russian army, and the Germans tried to say and again to say that don't worry, we are taking you away from the front and for work in Germany. But at this time, nobody in the ghetto believed them more, because all the time this was lies after lies. I give you only one example. 3 days after we entered the ghetto, in August 18th, they announced that they need 500 intelligent people, doctors, lawyers, to work in the municipal of the town Kovno, and also my cousin Hirschel ran to register for it, and at the end of the day 534 were taken to so-called work, And at the same day, all of them were murdered at the fourth fort near Kovno. So at July 44, nobody believed, and very few people went to the field for transportation. Practically most of the Jewish people started to hide. And we also went hiding in the cellar of our little house, peasant house. Actually, after half a day or so, we start to hear loudspeakers that if you will not come to this special field, everybody who will stay at home or hide will be shot. And even we were sitting in the cellar, we heard this, and after a little while we started to hear shooting and fire. So we understood that they are burning house by house and shooting the people which are found in hiding. At that moment, I think my father said that we have to leave the cellar because otherwise we will be burned alive. And we went out from the cellar, the whole family, most of our family at that time, half of our family at that time survived these 3 years. And when we went out, there were fires all around. Especially not far from our home was a hospital which was burning with the patients, with the doctors and nurses, and shooting all around. And we went to the field, and there were already quite a number of people sitting there, quiet, and we sat also and waited what will happen. I can't recall exactly how long we were sitting there, but then suddenly we were ordered to go group by group, about 100 in a group, and we said we are going to the train station. And the train station was on the other side of the city, so we had to go about 2 hours or so to the train station. When we came to the train station, by the walking through the street to the train station, my mother told me, "Kalmichke, run away quickly." But I didn't do it. First of all, there were guards around us. But second, which was really the case, nobody, and I would like to separate from parents, their father and mother, grandfather, etc. of the family. So I didn't escape. And we found ourselves sitting near the train station. Again, we were waiting there, and people around us said, "Well, we will wait. God will help us to wait as long as possible. Maybe the Russians will come and save us." But after a couple hours, I really don't know how long it was, a train came with a number of cattle wagons, and here suddenly came the Germans with dogs and pushed us in the train with very quickly and terrible. And we went in the wagon, and thank you. I don't know how many, about 50 or 100 people in the wagon, and there was only 2 small windows close to the roof of this cattle wagon with wires around it closed, and inside people gathered, families, there was family, There was no place to sit or lay down. We were quite... I must say that I still remember every second in this train, and also the smell was terrible there. But there was no panic. People were quiet, family by family, together. Here again, probably it was an hour or so, maybe more, the train was staying. We heard some shooting around, but inside we were quiet, or relatively quiet, no panic. And after a while, the train started to move, and here happened something which is unbelievable to tell. One of the men in the wagon, I was then a boy of 14, it looked to me like a giant. He came and jumped on this little window, and with strength, I don't understand how, he turned out and crushed the wire and opened this little window. And tried to push himself out. He tried, but he couldn't go through. He was too big, probably too fat. Nobody was fat in the ghetto, but he couldn't go out, and then he went away. My cousin Arke, which was a Zionist, most people in Kovno were Zionists. He was in the underground, but he didn't want to leave the family, so he went to the train with us. He was 2 years older than I, but I looked on him like my brother. He, after this big man couldn't go through, he just jumped and went out of the train. And then my mother again told me, Kalmečke, you look like a Lithuanian, you don't have an accent, you speak like a Lithuanian. And she said also that I am a bad boy, so I will manage to run, and you have to go out to tell the world what the Germans did to us. And but I hesitated, but other people in the family looked at me, and then I jumped also with my head through this little window, and then my father said, no, Kalman, not with the head, with the feet first. And he took me back and raised me and looked at me and was silent. Most of the people of the train of the wagon looked on us, and then before he threw me out, no kiss, no nothing, just said, and he said it in Yiddish, Kalman, so sei ein Mensch. We at home spoke Hebrew. My father and mother went to Hebrew school, Hebrew high school. In Kovno were 3 Hebrew schools from kindergarten. At home we spoke Hebrew, and he said it in Yiddish, and it's very difficult to translate this in English, and probably was for him difficult to say it in Hebrew. A mensch, how should I say, be a good person, be a honest man. Only after several years I understood what he said, and he put in me no panic, so strong look, as I remember, and threw me out, and the train continues to go, and I fell down. Here I don't know how long I was laying there, probably a number of hours, because I wake up, it was the morning, I was alone, not as a word, as a fact, in this whole world, and every person you will meet on your way, all Lithuanian or Germans, if they know that you are a Jew, you will be killed or went over to the Gestapo. This we knew. When I wake up, I started to run in one direction of the train, of the, how to say, Mesilot railways. And then I said, well, not this way, on the other way. I tried to see maybe I will find Arke, my cousin, nothing. And then I sat down and I thought, I don't know how this idea came to me, but I must say I salute myself that I said, well, you go, the front is close to here, the Russians are coming from the east, the Germans took you to the west, you go to east, it's morning, it's the sun, go towards the sun. And I started to walk, and I played like a Lithuanian boy. I named myself Kaziukas, okay, Kalman Kaziukas, and every minute had a story, and took me 3 weeks. Every hour had another story, and I was able to cross the front, and this is the way I liberated myself. And the first thing I did, I ran and went back to Kovno, because Kovno was already liberated a couple of days. I came to Kovno, and I knew that nobody from my family is there, but I went to the ghetto. I went, and except for one little building, all houses were burned, everything. And on every place there were burned bodies. It was difficult, even as a young boy. It was very hard, and then I ran to my friend's home. He also, before the evacuation, he told me that he, his little brother, and his mother will hide. They will not go to transportation. I loved very much this friend, because he came to Kovno 1 week before the war started. He and his mother and boy came to visit his grandmother, who was ill, and after a week the war broke out and was trapped, and he was found himself in the ghetto. They lived in a little room. On the wall was this violin. He was also at that time 12 or 13 years, but he, after work, he always ran to the violin and played. Not only for this I loved him, but pieces, always a concert of Mendelssohn, pieces of it. So I ran to see there, and then this terrible picture which I found. I saw near the burned house a large, a big body, a smaller one, and a smaller one. So with this picture, I ran very quickly back to Kovno from the ghetto to try to find some Jewish people that will help me somehow to bury them or to do something. Nothing I could do. So the next day I went back to the place, and they were not there. And suddenly I heard German songs. So I started to be afraid. I said, oh God, the Germans are back here. And then when they came closer with marching and singing, I understood that this was war prisoners, which actually collected the bodies and brought them to a place to bury them. and I went to this place, and I was the only one which was staying and seeing how they were buried there. And at this moment, I decided I am leaving Kovno, and I started my journey, which took a number of months. I decided I go either to Italy or to Greece, and from there to Palestine, to Israel. And I came to Italy, and I was glad that I, with the first 1,000 certificates which the British gave for people which survived this terrible murder, for children and pregnant women, and between these 1,000 certificates I got, so I was in 45, very close after the war, officially came to Palestine. Thank you very much.